Welcome,
All right.
friends. This is Pastor Brian Hudson from New Covenant Church, and I want to have a conversation with a young lady who's a part of our ministry, but also she's an educator and also a candidate for Pike Township School Board. I'm talking about Miss Nichole Kelley. Welcome, Miss Kelley.
Hello. Thank you for inviting me and excited about this opportunity to talk with you.
It is so good to have you on this call on Zoom. And we're in the midst of, in fact, yesterday, Tuesday, began early voting here in Marion County, Indiana. And we're also in the middle of your campaign. You're running for school board at Pike Township. Now, where is Pike Township? Where is that township located?
The northwest corner of Indianapolis. So on the edge of Brownsburg, and then coming south over to the edge of just before Washington Township begins. So we border Washington Township, Wayne, and IPS.
So if you live on the northwest side of Indy, you may be in Pike Township, and your candidate is Nichole Kelley. So you'll be on the ballot. We're on the ballot now, right? On the ballot now?
I am on the ballot, yes.
Wow,
So
this is amazing.
you go all the way to the end of the ballot and look for the school board race. There are 9 candidates on the ballot for school board.
All right. Well, look for Nichole Kelley. Now let's talk about what you do. You're an educator, and you sent me a brief bio. I learned something. You are a 3rd generation educator. Talk about that.
Yes, my grandmother taught school in the South, and then my mother is a school teacher, and she taught elementary school for 30 plus years. And then I'm a 4th year, a special education teacher. So this is
the Kelley legacy. The Kelley legacy.
Well, this is actually on the This is the Solomon.
The Solomon legacy. That's right, Solomon. Yeah, Solomon.
Yeah, the Solomon legacy.
Yes. Well, I tell you, I'm excited. And of course, our viewers should also know that Nichole Kelley also helped direct our summer media camp for many years that we offered to young people teaching video production and photography and graphics. So she ran our program for many years and did it well. So I thank you for those great days we had as crew members, as mentors of crew members at our camp. Yeah. How did the camp actually help you become more interested in working with young people?
Well, actually, because I had a chance to spend a lot of time with young people. Even though I was in the office, I still was able to mentor and coordinate, and that's been my passion my whole life, to pour into young people and to see them reach their next level. So I was able to tie what I was, my feelings right into what we were doing with camp, and still have, I still see some of those young people in the community now and stay connected with them via Facebook and social media. So, and see how well they're doing, and know that when students have caring adults in their life, they thrive.
Yes.
And they're able to overcome obstacles that are even in their path. They're able to overcome those because of the mentoring and the adults that are in their lives there to support them.
That's so true. I know you have undergraduate degrees and graduate degrees in education and social work. And I know that you've worked for the Department of Child Services as a case manager. Therefore, you're a social worker. You've done foster care work as well, and assisting with the villages. So your whole life is geared toward educating and empowering young people. And so why is this run for school board important in your life right now?
Well, as I was sitting, during this time of sheltering in place, when we were at home and all the protests and calling for justice began, I said, okay, after the protest is over, what do we do? And how can I get involved? And there's a scripture that talks about going to Judea, Samaria, and the uttermost parts of the earth. I said, well, I'm going to start right in my neighborhood in my local community and a way to affect policy, school board. School board affects so many things for children. They determine, when school starts, when snow days happen, when how the pandemic is being handled. The school board is very key. They're the ones making those decisions as to when our children go back to school, what is taught what curriculums are used. School board has a lot to say about that. After gathering information from the community and students and parents, being able to say, this is the decision that the school board has come up with. So I said, I can start right here, changing policy right in my local area.
Yes, I mean, that's for sure. I thought as well, looking at your extensive experience in education and in child services, and of course you're involved with implementing policies, at different levels, state level, county level, city level. And there's no doubt you're a great fit, for this opportunity, for this seat on the school board. And I won't hide that I'm partisan. I don't get to vote for you. I'm not in your county or your township, but I want to encourage those who are watching, who are in Pike Township, look for Nichole Kelley on that ballot, okay? Because she's well qualified to serve. Now, one of my concerns always is that people who sit on school boards are actually involved with people, who are actually engaged with children, with young people, educators. And so, yeah, I'm just, I wish I could vote for you. So let me ask you this, Nichole. Now, turn to voting here for a moment. We're, into voting now. The voting season has begun. Election cycle has started. And so there are many options for voting. Let's first talk about the early voting option. What can we do to vote early right now, today?
Well, the main thing you can do right now is, if you want to go in person, you can go down to the city county building. Between yesterday it began on October 6th and then through October 23rd, they're going to be open weekdays from 8 to 5 and weekends from 10 to 5 at the city county. You can go to the clerk's office and vote.
City county building downtown? Yes, okay.
Right now, that is the only location in Marion County that's open until October 24th.
24th.
And then after the 24th, they're going to open 4 more locations. The city county building will still be open until November 2nd. However, so with their hours, but you'll be able to go to Cranit Park Community Center, Lawrence Township Education and Community Center, Perry Township Government Center, St. Luke's United Methodist Church, and Warren Township Government Center. And those from October 24th through November 1st. Those will be open.
I'll put those on the screen too. I'll put those on the screen, yes, so people can see those.
From 10 to 5 and 11 to 7 on 10 to 5 on the weekends, and 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. on weekdays. So even once you get off work, you can still make it by 7 and vote early.
Yes.
And then if you're unable to even go, you can go request online at indianavoters.in.gov. You can request an absentee ballot, but you have to do that by the 22nd.
You have to request it. It won't be mailed out.
They won't mail. They're not going to request one. Primary, they mailed them out. This,
yes,
the general election, they're requiring that you request it. So you
go watch, pay attention, because it won't come in the mail. Don't wait for it to come.
No, it's not going to come this time.
Yes.
So between now and October 22nd, you can request it. And then they have they have more staff this time now processing those requests. During the pandemic, she couldn't have a full staff to process everything. So now they've been able to, they have more staff at the center that are able to process.
That's important, yeah, because the demand is going to be great. Just judging by the first day,
right?
People were wrapped around the city county building, so we know that I'm glad to see all this interest, and this is an important election cycle, obviously, for lots of reasons. Let me ask you this: now, early voting, since the lines are long, What should people
Right.
be paying attention to when they go out to vote?
Make sure you have your ID. And that's going to be, make sure you have a valid state, or it can be a military, state, or an ID, a valid ID that has an expiration date. And you don't want to have an expired one, but it needs to be expired since the last election. Like it needs to be recent, not like an old expired ID, but it needs to be a recent with your current address. So making sure that your address has been updated. That's one of the other issues that people run into. But with us having all county, like you can go to any site in the county and vote, you can change your address. They'll allow you to vote, and then you can change your address. But hopefully October 5th was the deadline to update your registration. So hopefully you got that done. But if not, they have a form they can give you once you get there, or you can get it offline and change your registration. You can turn it in there, and then the election board at your precinct, at your polling site, will turn it in for you. But you'll be able to cast a ballot. You may have to vote provisionally. That's why it's so important to make sure your address is correct.
That's correct. Yes.
'Cause
I've also heard too that with mail-in ballots, make sure your name is exactly the same on the ballot as it is on registration online.
So make sure everything matches up.
Yeah. So if your name is Michael, don't put Mike on the ballot, right?
You don't want Mike.
Right. Now, as far as waiting in line, what do you recommend? Bottle of water? I mean, come dressed to stand, right? Or bring a small stool with you.
Bring a stool. October, we don't know what the weather, each day the weather's a little different. So if you know it's cool, bundle up, put your hat, put your gloves, grab a stool, grab some water. If you can't go a long period of time without, bring a pack of sandwich and carry, a little small cooler, or just put it in a bag. Have what you need that you can stay.
Yes.
And those that are that have a difficult time standing and waiting in line, they are making provisions for the handicap. I know that they're allowing them to go ahead.
I would hope so. Yeah, people in line, move on up there. Yeah, right.
And then the older folks, I would say just bundle up, bring your stool. If you got a walker, the rollator, that you can sit on, roll it, sit, roll it, and sit. Bring what you need because this election is so important on so many levels that we just need to make your voice does count when you vote. And we have to make sure we're taking care of all this other business with our IDs and our registration so that we can exercise our right to vote. They do require that we register. They do require that we have ID.
Yeah,
all of those things. You still have time to get your ID.
Right.
And they'll give you, even if you don't have it in your final, you'll have the paper copy, and you can use that as well.
Good.
So if you don't have an ID, please go get an ID.
Yeah, go get it. I mean, there's no excuse not to be registered, not to vote. What breaks my heart though is that voting is made difficult.
Right.
It should not be difficult, but difficult or not, we have to get it done. I know, for example, that here in Marion County, we have 1 million people and one early polling place. Hamilton County has 330,000 people and 2 polling places. Okay.
Right.
So this tells you what's going on. There is this effort to suppress, urban vote. But hey, we've been suppressed all our lives, so we're not going to be stopped by any kind of tactic. Now let's talk about more detail about the mail-in ballots. What's it called? It's called absentee. What's the name? Is it absentee ballot or mail-in? Absentee.
So you can, but you can also request that. You can call in. They have a line 327-2051, 317-327-2051. So during business hours, you can call and request.
Good.
You can also email that request, and we can put the email and the phone
screen. We will. Yes.
And the information that you'll need to to send so that you can request your ballot. They're processing those, you know, as fast as they can. I've been speaking with some folks that are working with the clerk and at the clerk's office, trying to get everything out so this election can run smoothly.
Good.
And knowing that the numbers of absentee ballots are going to be high, the clerk did add more people. So
Good.
she anticipated that as well.
You've spoken to her directly. You've spoken to her directly, haven't you? You haven't had conversations
Yes.
with the clerk? You have? Yeah.
Yes.
That's good. I know that clerk has to balance a lot of concerns and, you know, including the other party, you know, who wants to resist some things, but she's doing a phenomenal job with what she has. You know, she's not fully liberated. Hopefully this election will liberate her further, you know, because we should make election easy. We can make it easy and verify that folks are authentic voters. Not a problem. Right. Yeah. Now let me ask you this: what types of mistakes do voters commonly make that can hinder the ballot being counted, or they can miss the opportunity to vote? What are some mistakes we can avoid making?
Marking too many choices. Like if there's only,
That's a big one. Yeah.
Like your school board, there's 9 candidates. And it'll say mark, you can pick 4.
Okay.
So if you mark 5, that may, you know, especially if you send it absentee, that'll push you out.
Wow.
Because you can't go back, because if you're in person, it'll spit it back out and you can get a new ballot and redo it. But if you vote absentee, you really got to make sure you filled in all your circles, the choices that you want, fill them in fully, make sure your choice is, you know, recognized. And then if you do make a mistake, you may have to, if you have time, you can request another ballot or go vote in person and exchange the damaged ballot for a new ballot. But don't let a mistake stop you.
Right. But now you cannot mail a ballot in and go vote afterwards. You can't do both, right? You can't do both.
No, if you mail it, no, if you get there before your ballot has been processed,
right,
you can vote.
Okay.
But you're racing the clock. You know, did I beat my ballot? But
yeah.
So.
But I wouldn't recommend, right? You don't recommend people doing that, right? You don't recommend mailing and then trying to vote.
No,
don't recommend
one
that.
Or the other.
Yeah.
No.
That'll get you thrown out. That'll get it disqualified, you know, some kind of way. Even if you technically get there before the ballot arrives, you know, they'll find a reason to throw it out, you know. So.
It just doesn't look right. So.
Right, exactly. So pick one or the other, right? Pick one
and if you ask for a mail-in and you decide not to, and you decide to go vote in person, then just surrender the absentee ballot.
Don't mail it in. Yeah.
Don't mail it in. Just surrender it when you get there. Bring it.
When you get there, surrender it. Good.
And they'll take care of it. The election board that's there will take care of it.
Excellent.
So they're trained on what to do with those ballots. Good. And then you can vote as regular.
Right. Let me say, I want to thank you. I know you worked the polls last spring. Bless your heart. You were out there morning to night. I want to thank you on behalf of all the citizens. Poll workers are those unsung heroes among us, who I'm sure there's never enough of you, you know, poll workers. So thank you for, you know, serving in that fashion. And but now you're a candidate, so you're on a different side of it now. So, but going back to your candidacy, what do you want to say to Pike Township residents who are watching?
I would love to have the opportunity to work with the other members of the board and the township. Pike Township's a great township, but of course we can always be better. I want to see us increase our graduation rate. I want to see us increase the number of students that have the skills to pass the state standardized testing. I want to see us help students be prepared for this new workforce, because the workforce that even my parents and my generation graduated from high school experiencing is not the same. And so wanting to encourage students, because everyone's not going to go to college, but what training do we help you get to equip you for the next steps in life? And how do we get you there? So as high school educators, what is Pike doing to make sure the students are equipped? So I want to be a part of that and making sure students in my area, my neighborhood where I live are ready to take the, to take on the new workforce and have those skills. And not just the job skills, but the people skills. So it means if we're incorporating social and emotional learning into the curriculum and helping the state see that kids need credit for that. That needs to be a part of the daily curriculum.
Oh, wow.
Because
So true. So true.
with school, if you can't interact with people in a school setting, there's no way you'll be able to hold a job. So wanting to help students get techniques to learn how to deal with trauma. Everyone's had some type of trauma, but helping educators and students learn how do we cope with that? How do we deal with that? And then as educators, and not only as an educator, looking to help teachers find solutions, because they're human. They have emotions. They have trauma that they bring into the classroom. And so when a student goes off on them, helping them understand, no, we can't react. We have to respond.
Yes.
Not out of our trauma, but we have to respond out of our training.
Good.
And as teachers, we can't just go off just because a student went off. We have to remain that calming force in the classroom. And because I've been guilty of not always keeping my cool in a situation, but learning how to do that is very key. But wanting to support teachers, and because a lot of teachers feel like they're not heard, they're not supported, but wanting to make sure that teachers' voices are heard as well. And when making decisions for the school board, that's taken into account. What's actually going on in the classroom, and was what the school board's asking, does that make sense for what's going on in the classroom? And considering not just one type of teacher, or one teacher that teaches all subjects, but even teachers that teach the elective subjects. How do we support them? The teachers that are not the main reading, writing, arithmetic teachers. How do you support those outlying teachers? Because they're just as important as those that teach English and math and science. So, and then helping students, how do we help them get into the STEM careers? That's science and technology and media and all of the areas where jobs are growing. And how do we connect kids to the tools that they need for the new jobs?
That's good. Nichole, that's a very comprehensive. I mean, you've thought this through. That's pretty obvious. And you bring the experience. I know when you ran our multimedia focused media camp, I mean, you're a little lady, but you handled those big boys, you kept them all in line. And not just through intimidation, you had the skills. You had the skills, and you loved them first. Love is the key, right? Love, and then you can come and be strong if you have to. So I'm just saying to our viewers here, Nichole is highly qualified for the school board, any school board, but she's in Pike Township. So I want to encourage you to support her. I'm going to put information up on the screen to follow her on Facebook. She has a Facebook page up on social media. So we'll make sure you're aware of how to contact her and learn more from her. So we're going to close out, but you want to share anything else before we finish up here, Nichole?
I think that's it. Just make sure you vote.
Yes.
This election, as we were sharing, there are so many ways that they are trying to suppress voters, and not just all voters.
Yeah.
And with the pandemic also being a factor, do not vote by mail. There are so many ways that you can remain engaged in this process. This country was founded on the principles of the people being engaged.
Yeah.
So making sure that we the people remain engaged. Otherwise, our system doesn't work if we don't stay engaged.
Very good. Well, thank you. I've been speaking with Nichole Kelley, who is an educator, a candidate for Pike Township School Board, highly qualified lady, and a woman of God, I'll add, as well. And just thank you for the opportunity to speak with you. And again, I wish you well. May God bless and help you in this candidacy.
Thank you.
God bless. Okay, friends, we'll see you next time.